is a slight difference when you compare the arrays in Java with the arrays in your C or arrays in C++. Now, first, the syntax for declaration of arrays in Java is like this. You define data type followed with the variable name and the square brackets. So, this is how array is declared in Java. Okay. Now, an example of array is this: int array equal to new int 10. However, remember that when I write this left hand side int array, only the left hand side, okay, this actually does not create any array. So, int array is basically it's a reference name, like how we have pointers in C++ and there are something called as reference variables. Okay. So, when I say int array, this word int array basically is a reference name. Okay. This reference name, it tells the JVM that this particular name or this particular variable can store the address, the starting address of an array. What kind of array? An integer array. So, this is basically the left hand side, the name that we have specified int array. This part, it actually does not create any array, it is simply the name, a reference name given to a contiguous location that may later on fill up with the integer elements, heterogeneous elements, which is nothing but the array. Now, if you see the memory, if you see the computer's memory, okay, usually the array, any variables or any objects that are created, okay, they are created on the heap. Okay, they are basically created on the heap storage. Okay, and if you now see this particular definition here, whenever new operator is encountered, okay, new operator tells that 10 contiguous integer locations have to be allocated inside the heap. Now, notice that integer takes 4 bytes, single integer takes 4 bytes, and we are now telling that there are 10 integers which are contiguously stored, which are supposed to be contiguously stored in the memory. Likewise, there are 10 integer locations which are needed to be allocated. So, single integer takes 4 bytes into 10 such integers. So, 40 bytes of memory it has to be allocated. So, in the heap, okay, in the heap area, 40 bytes of memory is allocated. Okay. So, this is what new operator does, and then int array or int array is basically it's a reference name or it is a reference to the starting location of the array. So, the starting address of the array, it's up, for example, in the heap it is hexadecimal value 0x1012. Then int array variable, which is a reference variable here, it will store 0x1012, the address of the starting location of the array. So, now you can access this particular array index wise with the reference name int array. Is it clear? Is it clear? So, now if I want to access, say whenever we talk about arrays, arrays have indices, right? So, this is 0th index, this is first, second, third and so on. Suppose I want to access, okay, the this particular index of the array, then I can only say int array of 1. So, when I say int array is the reference to the starting location, and with respect to starting location the index position 1. So, that element will be accessed. So, this is how arrays are basically created in Java. Any doubt? Okay. There is another way of initializing arrays. So, this is an array initializer way. For example, I want to declare an array called as month day. So, I write int month day equal to, I can manually or in the program itself I can hard code the values which are to be stored in the array like this. Now, this syntax is almost same as what we used to write in C++ or in C. right? Only difference is, remember in C++ or C, we used to write something like this, int ARR 10. Just by writing this int ARR 10, okay, in Java, it does not mean that the array is created. When I write int ARR 10, it does not mean that 10 contiguous integer values are allocated in the memory. No. When you write this line here, in Java, it only tells the JVM that ARR will be the reference name to an array. Okay, ARR will be the reference name to an array. Okay, that will be later on created. Where it is created? In Java, it is created on the right hand side using new operator. This is something which is different from what was there in C++, wherein you could simply write int ARR 10, and by writing this, array of 10 integers are created in the memory, and ARR is the name given to the starting location of the array in C++. Whereas in Java, whenever you want to declare an array, create an array, you cannot do it like this, you will have to do it like this. Okay. Now, there are also some implications of this. You know that in C++, okay, whenever we declare an array, suppose we have array of 5 integers, these are the integer variables, integer values, okay. So in ARR integer variable, at 0th index position you have 4, first index position you have 3, second index position you have 2, and so on. So let's say this is an array. Now we write a C++ program, simple C++ program, okay. So we declare array of 5 integers, and then using this for loop, I am going to insert the elements in the array. Let's say these are the elements in the array. Now in C++, there is one problems that occur with the array, that is called as array memory leakage. Although the bounds, legal bounds of the array, it's supposed to be from index 0 to index 4. In C++, okay, when we try to access the contents within the array, it can even cross the bounds of the array. Now you can see this particular memory area here, this is actually outside the bound of the array. This is illegal memory. Okay, this does not come under the scope of the array. Okay, but as you go on reading the elements within the array, you can even access those memory locations which are outside the bound of the array. Okay, this is called as memory leakage in C++. Okay, so for example, you have only 5 elements in the array, so you inserted all the 5 elements in the array, but while printing the array, okay, if you just set the limit from j equal to 0 to 100, although there are only 5 maximum elements, you are trying to print the 100 elements in the array, you will observe that it is going to first print all the 5 elements, and then from the 6th element onwards, which is illegal, it is still going to print some values, maybe some negative values which are garbage values. Okay, so this is something called as memory leakage in C++. In the solution, that's why it was giving error. Let's check. So it is asking me to enter 5 elements. Let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. See, array has only 5 elements. I have entered 5 elements. Okay. Now it is trying to print the elements, but not 5. It is trying to print the 10 elements. Let's see what will happen. Just check. The contents of the array are, it is printing the first element exactly correctly, 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5. So actually here the bound of the array is over. But you see in my for loop here, I have said j less than equal to 10. Okay, so it is trying to cross the bound of the array, and you see this negative number, these are garbage values. So these are the memory locations, contiguous memory locations which are beyond the limit of the array. See, yeah, so total 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. These are the elements which are printed. So this clearly tells you that in C++, also in C, there is some problem associated with the array, and that is called as memory leakage problem. So what is this memory leakage problem? So if you try to print the contents of the array, if you try to go across the bounds of the array and access the memory, there is a leakage that is happening, and this is a serious problem. Okay, now how this leakage is addressed by Java? Java dot util dot scanner. Yes, and this void main, I'll create a scanner object. System.in, and then I'll declare an array. Say int arr equal to new int say 5. Okay, students note, in Java whenever you are declaring an array, you see here I have written int arr and I am not specifying any number here. Okay, in C++ you had to specify number, because just by writing this one small thing you are actually creating an array. Okay, you are actually telling the compiler to create an array. But although I told you in Java when I write int arr, it is simply a reference name declaration. Okay, so this square brackets here, it only tells that int arr will be a reference name. It will be storing the address of what? Address of which data structure? Address of a array data structure. That's why square brackets. And then int tells that data structure, contiguous memory allocation data structure, which is called as array, it is homogeneous and it will only store integer values, and that's why this is a reference name for integer array. And actual array creation will be done on the right hand side. Okay, now let's continue. Same thing we'll do here. Okay, I will be entering elements in the array. So I'll ask the user to enter the elements of the array. Okay, enter the elements in the array. Now I'll be using that same scanner scanner class function or method that is called as next int to take the integer from the keyboard. Okay, now for int I++, that can be used only once the array is already created. Okay, and then I will enter the value. Okay, so I'll say int arr of I is equal to sc dot next int. Okay, now see what I have done. I am asking the user to enter the elements of the array. So for I equal to 0, I less than 5, I plus plus. What is 5? 5 is the maximum, that means from 0 to 4, total 5 elements will be entered in this for loop. Every time int arr of ith element in the array will be taken from the keyboard using scanner object sc and next int function. Okay, now let's print the content of the array. I will be doing the same mistake now. Although there are only 5 elements in the array, I will try to print 10 elements from the array and check what happens. Okay, now before I proceed, I will tell you, in Java for loop has an extension, and that extension is called as for each. Okay, so there is a shorthand of writing for loop. Okay, so I write like this: for int ele in array whose name is int array, int arr it is, not array. Okay, now just see, this is called as for each loop. This is extension of for loop. This is something which was not there in C++ and C. So what I am saying, suppose I already have an array, already there are elements in the array, then I can use a variable. So see, this is called as for each element in the array. So you read it like this: for every element ele in int arr. Okay, and then automatically it will be incremented in the next iteration. Okay, so I'll do what? I'll simply print that ele. Okay, so system.out.println. Okay, I'll just say ele. or I will just say system.out.print. I will print each element every time, and then I will have a \t. Okay, let's run. Okay, now just see, enter the elements in the array. Okay, there are 5 elements. So suppose I write 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Okay, so it prints 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, here I have not shown you any memory leakage thing. I am just telling you, I am just showing you there is one extension to for loop that is called as for each loop. What this for each loop does? So in for, you write first parameter here before this colon. It is nothing but it is a representative of every indexed element. So ELE is the representative of every indexed element. Okay, so in the first iteration, ELE will point to this one. Okay, the first indexed value. So ELE will be storing 1, value 1. Okay, and then it will print that ELE. So 1 will be printed on the computer screen. Then after doing this, automatically there will be incrementation of the index. So ELE now will be pointing to the second index element. Okay, 2 is the second index element. Automatically ELE will store second index element value. Okay, then it is going to print that ELE. So it is going to print this 2. Then automatically the index will be incremented, and ELE will be automatically pointing to the third index element, that is 3. So ELE will be then storing 3, and then you are printing ELE. So 3 will be printed on the computer screen. Then automatically index will be incremented by 4. So ELE will now store the next index element, that is 4, and 4 will be printed, and then 5. Okay, so this is how basically for each loop works. This is a shorthand of writing your for loop. Okay, incrementation is done automatically. So whenever there is an array, wherever there is a data structure and you want to print every element in the array, okay, you want to access every element in that array, okay, you can use this for each loop. Now coming back to our problem, I will forcibly try to print not 5 but 10 elements. So I will be using the same old array, old for loop. So I will just say for int j equal to 0, j less than say 10. I know that there are only 5 elements, but I am just saying 10 and j plus plus, and instead of printing ELE, I will be printing int ARR of j. Okay. So this is same as what I have done in C++. My array contains only 5 elements. They have already entered. Now, while printing the elements in the array, I am purposely trying to cross the bounds of the array and check what happens. Okay. Now, before we continue, I will tell you, Java, it does the strict checking, and what happens in Java is memory leakage problem. It does not occur in Java. Okay, Java strictly checks to make sure that you do not accidentally try to reference values which are outside the range of the array. So what happens? JRE or Java runtime system, it will every time check the value of each index, okay, to make sure that the indexes are within the given range. So see, if the array declared is of 5 elements, every time that it is going to check the iteration, it is going to check the indexes. So indexes should be valid, indexes should be between 0 to 4. If at any point of time index value is less than 0, that means left hand side it tries to cross the bound. 0 is the valid index. It should start with 0. But if the index value happens to be a negative value, it means that you are trying to cross the bound of the array in the left hand side. Okay. Or suppose if it checks, if it finds out that the maximum bound of the array should be 4, maximum index should be 4, but the value which we have got right now is say 5, 6, 7, 8 and so on. In such cases, what Java will do is it will create a runtime error. It will show you the runtime error. It will not allow you to access the content of the array. Okay, let's check what happens. So I save this and I run. So enter elements in the array, same 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. I have already entered 5 elements. Now it is printing. Just see. Exception in the thread main. What is the exception? array index out of bound exception here. Okay. Now it also shows you the output. See, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The valid indices, valid index elements, they are correctly printed. But when j is incremented further and j tries to become 5 or j tries to become 6, that time it is not going to print the outside bound elements of the array, rather it will create an exception, that is array index out of bound exception. Okay. Is it clear? So this is the security of arrays in Java compared to arrays in your C++ and C. Second thing is, once you already have an array like this, okay, you don't have to every time specify j equal to 0, j less than 10. You don't have to specify the number. If your array is already there and if the elements are already there, you don't have to bother how many elements are there in the array. Okay. So here, while doing the condition checking, I can simply say, okay, for int j equal to 0, okay, I am just saying that print all the elements of the array. So I will just say int arr dot length. J less than. So what I am doing here, for int j equal to 0, j less than int arr dot length. Now what is int arr dot length? Dot length specifies what is the length of our array that we have created, whose name is int arr. So for every index j such that j is less than the bounds of the array, int arr dot length, it is going to enter the for loop and every time it is going to print. Once the maximum bound of the array is reached, that is int arr dot length, this parameter is once reached, what will happen? It will exit. Okay. Now multi-dimensional arrays in Java is, it is implemented on a principle of array of arrays. Okay. You must be remembering this concept. There is a concept called as pointer to an array. So you will be having an array of pointers and every index location will be nothing but it's a reference pointing to one array which is separately stored in the memory. So multi-dimensional arrays in Java, they are implemented on basis of array concept. Let's see what it is. So example of 2D array. Suppose I want to declare a 2-dimensional array. Okay, I can declare it like this: data type, name of the 2-dimensional array, followed with 2 square brackets. This 2 square brackets, a pair of 2 square brackets, opening, closing. This actually indicates that it's a 2D array. Okay, this actually indicates that it is 2-dimensional array. Okay, where the first parameter here is going to be row and the second parameter here is going to be column. But remember that if you just write only this part, it is basically a reference name that you have written. Okay, if you only write this part and semicolon, the Java virtual machine, okay, Java environment will understand that you are declaring a reference name so that it can then point to a 2-dimensional array or a matrix in the memory. Okay. Actual creation of the matrix or actual creation of the 2-dimensional array occurs when you see the right hand side definition, where there is new operator involved. So new operator, what it does, it creates a 2-dimensional array in the memory. Now let's see how 2-dimensional arrays are created. So usually you must be knowing that in C++, when I write int 4, 5, okay, you must be knowing that a matrix is created like this, where you have rows and columns. Okay, so this will be 0, 0, this will be 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3, and then this will be 0, 4 and 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3. Then this will be 2, 0, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3. Okay, and the memory, although we say it's a contiguous memory, the memory locations will be, this will be the first memory location, next memory location, third, fourth memory location, this will be the fifth memory location, sixth, seventh and so on. So when you declare two-dimensional array in C++ or C, actually although you see this as a table, but in the memory the elements will occur contiguously one after the other. So first these four elements will occur. In the next subsequent memory address, you will see that this element will be present, then this, then this, then this, then in the subsequent address this one. So it will be actually stored that way. However, in Java, the memory allocation is not the same. Okay. So what happens when you write this? See, in Java what will happen? First of all, reference to arrays. So basically it is array of arrays. First it will be creating a one-dimensional array whose name will be 2D, because 2D is the name of the reference variable that I have given. What it will do? It will first create a single dimensional array whose name will be 2D. How many elements will be there in that particular array? 4. Why? Because the number of rows are 4. So 4 elements will be created in that array. Now, the first index position in this reference array will point to the first array. That first array will have 5 elements, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because how many columns are there? There are 5 columns, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then second memory location in this reference array will store the address of the second array, which will be again having 5 elements, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then the third reference index location here in 2D, it will be storing the address of the third array, which will again have 5 elements, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Similarly, the fourth indexed element of 2D reference will have the address of the third array. Students, note that this array may be present in a different memory location. This array will be present, may be present in a different memory location, this in a different memory location, this in the different memory location. So whenever I say int 2D equal to new int 4 comma 5, what exactly happens internally is, in the heap 4 arrays will be created, may not be contiguous. First array, second array, third array, 4 array. Why? Because there are 4 rows. Each array specifies one particular row. And each array will have how many columns or how many elements? 5 elements. So 4 rows means 4 arrays, and 5 columns means each of these 4 arrays will have 5 elements. Okay. Now all these 4 arrays which occur at different places, they have to be integrated together so that virtually that it can be called as a matrix. So because of which you will have this reference to an array which itself will be array. So this is a concept called as array of arrays. It's an array that stores addresses of other arrays, array of arrays. Now first index position in the reference name 2D will store the address to the first array, starting address of the first array. Second index position will store the address or the reference of the starting location of the second array. Third will have the address or reference to the starting location of the third array. Fourth will have address or the reference of the starting location of the fourth array, and so on. So internally when you create a 2D array like this, it will be created in this particular fashion. Now since we have the concept of array of arrays, since the references of starting location of each of these arrays are stored itself in an array like this, this kind of storage will not have any problem with the programs that you write. So virtually, although these arrays they occur at different positions, since they are linked using this array of arrays concept, virtually you can still see the structure like this only. So you will have no problem in accessing 2D arrays, you will have no problem in performing operations on 2D arrays. The operations externally they will look exactly same as how you perform in C++ or C. Say 2D is the name of the array equal to new int, specify the rows and specify the columns. So rows internally will create 4 arrays, and each of these 4 arrays will have 5 elements that correspond to the column. Then I will declare 3 variables, say int I, j, comma k, and I will declare all of them equal to 0. When I write int I comma j comma k, it simply means that all of them, that is I, j as well as k, all of them are initialized to 0. Okay. Now for say I equal to 0, I less than 4, I plus plus, where 4 is nothing but rows. For j equal to 0, j less than columns, that is 5, j plus plus, and I'll insert k into it. So I'll say 2d of I comma j equal to k, and I will simply increment this k. Okay. So this is how I insert elements in the array. Insert element into the array, and then I will print the contents of the array. Same way for I equal to 0, I less than 4, I plus plus, then for j equal to 0, j less than 5, j plus plus, sorry, j plus plus, and I'll simply print system dot out dot println, and I'll print the value of 2d array, 2d of I comma j plus I'll put a space here so that elements can be separated with the space. And once so what will happen is, here when I equal to 0, okay, it will come here internal loop j equal to 0. So for I equal to 0, j equal to 0, I am actually referencing 0 comma 0th location of the matrix. It will print 0 comma 0th location value. Then there will be space, or tab, you can say, you can even put tab here, no problem. And then j will be incremented. So next value that will be printed will be 0th row but first column, 0 comma 1, and so on. So when you come out of this for loop, inner for loop, one thing is sure, that your entire row is printed, and I am going to the next row. Now the next row elements I want to print on a new line, so I will just put a blank new line. So I'll just say system dot out dot println. So if I just write system dot out dot println, what will happen is, after this for loop, when you come to the outer for loop, okay, it will take you on the new line, so that the next row can be printed, and so on. So this will go on printing. Let's see whether this works. Okay, just see when you run what has happened. See, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So these are the 4 elements from the first row. Okay, I think I have used println. I should have used print only. Since I have used println, it is printing each element on a new line. So if you just use print and not println, and in place of space here, if I use a horizontal tab, then maybe I'll be able to see it properly. Let's check. Now see, this is the matrix that is being printed. Okay, so 4 by 5, so 4 rows and 5 columns, and these are the values. So this is 0 comma 0, 0 comma 1, 0 comma 2, 0 comma 3, 0 comma 4. Then 1 comma 0, 1 comma 1, 1 comma 2, 1 comma 3, 1 comma 4. then 2 comma 0, 2 comma 1, 2 comma 2, 2 comma 3, 2 comma 4, and so on. So if you see this, if you compare this program with your normal C++ program of creating a 2D array, everything is same. There is no change. Only difference is when you see the internal memory structure of the 2D array in Java and that of 2D array in C++, only that will differ. But that will not hamper your coding capability. You will be writing exactly the same code that you are writing for C++ or Java. So this is how you can create a 2D array. Okay. Now, one thing you all should note that when you allocate memory for multidimensional arrays, you need not specify the memory for the first, that is the leftmost dimension only. Okay, you can allocate remaining dimensions separately. For example, I am giving you an example of something called as irregular or uneven array. Let's see what it is. Irregular array. Okay, graphically, what is irregular array? That array, okay, see, basically when you talk about two-dimensional array, it will have something called as rows and it will have something called as columns. Your normal matrix which we are talking about, in that what happens is maybe the number of rows will change. Okay, these are rows. So this is 0th row, first row, second row, third row. But always the number of elements, or it means the number of elements in each of this particular row, it will remain same. So in this particular row, you will have 5 elements. In this row also you will have 5 elements. In this row also you will have 5 elements. In this also you will have 5 elements. This is a regular array. This is the example of regular array. Regular 2D array where every row will have exactly the same number of columns. Now, irregular array is something that we have already dealt with in FLAT. You remember we were doing something called as minimization of DFA, in which we had seen table filling algorithm. Remember that table that we had drawn? It was something like a ladder. Okay, something like this. Right? So this is an example of irregular 2D array. Okay, in irregular 2D array, okay, you see the number of rows will be the same. Okay, that means suppose in the given 2D array there are 4 rows, so there will be 4 rows. But the problem is the number of columns in each of these row, it may differ. For example, in the first row there was only 1 column value. But in the second row, that is in the index position 1, that particular row, the number of columns were 2 or number of elements were 2. In the next row, there are 3 elements. In the next one, there are 4 elements. So this is called as irregular, or it is also called as uneven array, and Java allows you to create such kind of arrays. Okay. So how to declare such array? Okay. So again, I will declare a 2D array, say int 2D, okay, equal to new int. Now you know that what is fixed in this case, you always know that the number of rows are fixed. So in the entire structure we will have 4 rows, so that you know. But do you know, is there any fixed number of columns in each row? No. That number of columns will just go on changing as per the user's need. So when you declare such kind of irregular array, it is mandatory for you to declare the first parameter, that is how many rows are there. But it is not mandatory for you to specify how many columns are there in each of this row. That you can specify individually later on. So this is a declaration of irregular array. Okay, wherein you know that there are 4 rows, but you are not sure at this moment what will be the number of elements or what will be the number of columns in each of the row. Maybe they might be different in different rows. Okay. So now next we will have to specify the columns, how many columns will be there in the each row. So then how can you write that? You can say 2d of 0. Now here it means in 0th row of 2d array, okay, how many columns will be there? So I am declaring, you create new int 1. So what will happen? Okay, first this particular line over here will do what? It will declare, it will create in the memory, it will create an array. Okay, it will in the memory, it will create an array of, or it will create 4 arrays like this, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, it will create 4 arrays. Fine. Now, when you talk about this 2d reference variable, it will be created like this, and each index position will be referring to one array, one of the 4 arrays. But what is not sure here is how many elements will be there in each array. So in this particular array, so far we have not declared how many elements will be there. In this array also, so far we have not declared. So by writing this particular line here, 2d 0, it simply means 2d 0, okay, and it gives you the reference that is being stored here, okay. So at this reference here, okay, how many columns will be there, how many elements will be there in that array? By writing new int 1, we are specifying that there will be only one contiguous storage which will be allocated for the first array, that is index position 0. Then I can say 2d of 1 equal to new int 2. Now this means 2d of 1 is basically this particular reference. So at this reference position, that is in this array, okay, you require to have 2 contiguous integer values. So this will be 0th value and this will be the first value. Okay. Then if I write 2d of 2 equal to new int 3, that means in the second index reference, which actually speaks about this particular array, third array, okay, how many elements are there in this array? New int 3, that means contiguously 3 integer allocations are there for this array. So this will be 0th index, first index and second index. Okay, so we can go on specifying like this, 2d of 3 equal to say new int, this time I want 5 elements in the array. So at third index location, which actually speaks about, or which actually refers this particular array, how many elements will be there in the array? Contiguously 5 elements. So 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4. So internally in the memory, this is how it will be created. Now student, please note, the reference variable names which were created in the array, this reference memory names, reference variable names, they are not part of the heap. Only this is part of the heap. The integer array that you have created, that is part of heap. But the reference name called as int array is part of something called as memory area. That is another storage. Okay. So what is created in the heap is the right hand side, whereas the left hand side reference name or reference variable is not created in the heap. It is there in the memory area along with other class names and other functions and so on. Right. Similarly, right now when I created int 2d, new int 4, see all this allocation, these are actually present in the heap. But the 2d array itself, which is nothing but a reference name to these actual arrays, this reference name is not present in the heap. This reference name is present in the memory area, which is another storage area. Is it clear? So what we will do is we will quickly write a small program, okay, that will create this kind of array. Now in C++ people call this as Zegard array. If you can recollect, it is called as Zegard array, but in Java it is called as irregular array. Okay. These are also called as uneven multidimensional arrays. Now before I write the program, I would like to tell you that these kind of arrays, they are not appropriate in many applications, as it runs contrary to what people expect to find when multidimensional arrays are encountered. So then when this particular irregular arrays can be used, they are only useful when you need to have, say, large array, 2D array that is sparsely populated. You must have heard about sparse matrix and all. So for this kind of calculation, you can have something called as irregular array. Otherwise, in our programs, we never encourage the use of these kind of Zegard arrays. Okay. So I will just modify this particular program. So that we will have a two-dimensional array. So first of all, whenever we have uneven arrays, you need not specify the second parameter, that is column. You have to only specify rows. That means how many arrays will be there in this particular array of array reference. Now, then I am specifying each row now. So I will say say 2D of 0 equal to, say, new int 1. So this simply means that the array which is supposed to be the 0th row array, that will have only one element. Fine. Then 2D of 1 equal to new int, say, 2 elements in the array. Then 2D of 2 will have new int 2. I will increment this. I will say 3 elements. I am trying to print, that table which we had seen in FLAT. Okay. Then 2D of 3 equal to new int 4. Okay, and say, yeah. So altogether how many? 5 elements. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 elements. Okay, 4 by 4. And say another element also we can give. Or let's say 4 elements only. Okay. Now again I will do the same thing. I will declare int I, j, k all equal to 0. Now I will have my for loop where I will be inserting elements in the array. For I equal to 0, I less than the number of rows, that is 4, I plus plus. Okay. Now for j equal to 0, now please watch out what I write. J less than I plus 1. I will tell you why I have written this. J plus plus. J plus plus. I will simply print okay, I will allocate now. Say 2D of I comma j equal to k. Same thing what I did in the previous program, and then I will increment the value of k. Okay. Then I will copy the same code. So this code here, it basically enters the element into this 2D uneven array, and now I am going to print. So I will copy the same code. The only difference is I will be printing here system dot out dot print okay, 2d of I comma j, and then I will print a horizontal tab, okay, and then so this particular iteration here will print all the elements in one particular row. When going to the next row, when it comes out as for loop, okay, I want to take control on the next line. So I will just write a new line here, system dot out dot println. Yes, let me check if the brackets are proper. Yeah, I'll save this code and I'll run. Okay, again see, I am not asking user to enter any data. So just see, this is the type of table that we had encountered in minimization of DFA in table filling algorithm. Okay, you see, first particular row, first row, that is 0th index row, has only one element, and that contains value 0. Okay, you see, 2d of 0, we have declared only one element in that particular array. Whereas in the second array, that is 2d of 1, we have declared two elements, two contiguous elements, and that's why 1 and 2 have been printed in the second row. Then in the third row, that is the third array, we have declared three elements in that array. Okay, you can see here 2d of 2, that is third row, we have declared how many? Three elements in that array. Notice that these are actually individual arrays. This is the first array, this is the second array, this is the third array, and this is the fourth array, which specify rows of the particular matrix, right? So this is how we have done. Now one small thing that you need to check here, why did I write here I plus 1? Okay, see, initially I is 0, okay, initially I is 0 and j is also 0. I am talking about 0 comma 0 location, okay. Then it checks, is 0 less than 0 plus 1 1? Yes, 0 is less than 1. Okay, so it comes here, and this k, which is 0, will be added at what location? 0 comma 0 location here. Then k will be incremented by 1. So k, which was 0, now k becomes 1, and it comes here, and now j is incremented by 1. So k is now 1, j is now 1, but I is still 0. So then it comes here and checks, is j, that is 1, less than 0 plus 1? Okay, see, I is 0. After incrementation, k has become 1 and j is now 1. Okay, so what will happen? This is not true, and that's why it will exit this particular for loop. Okay, it will exit this particular for loop. Why? Because j, which is 1, is not less than 0 plus 1, that is 1. 1 is not less than 1. So it will not execute this further, and that's why it will come out of this for loop. Okay, and it will come back here and it will increment the value of I, which simply means that it has printed one row and now it is going to print the second row all over again. So it will increment I. So I now becomes 1. Now it checks, is 1 less than 4? Yes, 1 is less than 4. So it comes here, and now j is 0. So I is 1, j is 0, and now it checks, is 0 less than 1 plus 1 2? Yes, 0 is less than 2. So it comes here and it prints 2d of 1 comma 0, and 1 comma 0 is this value. K is printed, then k is incremented, so k becomes 2, it comes here. J is incremented by 1. Okay, I is already 1 and j is also now 1, right? So now you just check, is 1 less than 1 plus 1 2? Yes, 1 is less than 2. So again it comes here, and now it prints the value of k where? Here. And now k is incremented, j is now incremented. Now it violates the condition, and that's why it comes out of this for loop and goes to the outer for loop. So every time it is checking I plus 1, that means it makes sure that in the first iteration it will have only one element, second iteration it will allow to enter two elements, third iteration it will allow to enter three elements. Suppose I want to create a 2D array, say double, say 2D is the name of the array. I want to initialize it. For example, say in the first row, I want to have the first element as a multiplication of 0 and 0. Second element is a multiplication of 1 with 0. Third element is a multiplication with 2 and 0. So this is the first row. In the second row, I want to have multiplication of 0 and 1. Then 1 and 1. Then 2 and 1 multiplication. Then 0 and 2. Okay, then 1 and 2. Then 2 and 2. Okay, and finally I have say 0 and 3 multiplication, then 1 and 3 multiplication, 2 and 3 multiplication. So let's say this is the 2D array that I have initialized. So you see, you can have curly brackets and the values separated with commas, so that you can specify the contents of the first row, right? So 0 into 0 is 0, so the first index element 0 comma 0 will be 0. Then 1 into 0 is also 0, so the second element in the first row will be 0. Then 2 into 0 is also 0, so the third element in the first row will be 0. Next, in the second, now this is the second row, because there is a comma and then again you have a tuple. Okay. Now within the tuple, the first element in the column is 0 into 1, that is 0. Now the second element in the tuple is 1 into 1, that is 1, so I will be writing 1 here. Now the third element in that tuple is 2 into 1, so that is 2. So this is the second row or second tuple. Then there is a comma and there is a third row or third tuple that is written here. Third row will have 0 into 2, which is 0. 1 into 2, that is 2. 2 into 2, that is 4. So this will be the third row. Okay. And finally 0 into 3 is 0, 1 into 3 is 3, 2 into 3 is 6. So this is basically that value, this is basically internally the matrix that we have. Okay. This is the matrix that we have, which is initialized in this particular way, right? So you can try out initializing matrix in this way and you can see for yourself. Okay, this is called as static initialization. That is, you are doing the initialization within the program. You are not asking the user to enter the values in the array. Now we have seen two-dimensional array. Now if you want to declare a three-dimensional array, then the syntax will be like this. Say int 3d. Now we will have 3 brackets here equal to new int. Now please note 3, 4 and say 5. Okay. So when I have this kind of representation, what it means? Okay. So see, you will have, when I say three-dimensional array, you will have one matrix. Okay, one 4 by 5 matrix. We will have one 4 by 5 matrix as the 0th array. Okay, then you have another 4 by 5 matrix as the first array, and then you will have another 4 by 5 matrix as the second array. Okay, so when you talk about three-dimensional array, it is nothing but this is row, this is column, and this is the index number of the array. So basically, when you talk about three-dimensional array, it simply means in Java that we will have 4 by 5 arrays. You will have 3 4 by 5 arrays. So this 3 specifies 0, 1, 2. That means 3 different matrices. So you will have one matrix here, you will have one matrix here, you will have one matrix here. Okay, slightly complicated, but this is how three-dimensional arrays are defined. Okay, where this parameter specifies the rows, this parameter specifies the column, and this parameter here it specifies how many matrices. So whenever we talk about three-dimensional array, it means three matrices, each of type 4 by 5. So I will now call this as three-dimensional array. So 3D. Since it is three-dimensional, it will have three values of dimension. New int, say 3, 4 and 5. So when I declare a three-dimensional array here, it simply means that, okay, it simply means that I will have 4 by 5 matrix where there will be 4 rows and 5 columns. Okay, how many such matrices? 3. Okay, internal representation, if you visualize, it is slightly complex, but virtually it simply means that see here, two-dimensional array means what? Internally in the memory, a two-dimensional array can be referred like this, right? Now three-dimensional array will be, you will have another array here, you will have another array here. Okay, this is basically 3D reference array, where this will point to this array of array, that is called as, say, 2D. Then you will have the same structure, again here. Okay, and this will be then pointing to the next array of array structure. Now this 2D is actually 4 by 5. This 2D is also actually 4 by 5, but they are different, they are separate. Now three-dimensional array, it simply means that the third parameter, that is this parameter, where is that? This parameter, it specifies the reference, so something like pointer to a pointer concept. So this is that when I say three-dimensional, the first index position will refer to the first array of arrays, second reference position will point to second array of arrays, and similarly the third reference position will again point to the third array of arrays. So again there will be repetition of this. So this is the third array. So what will happen? This third reference position will point to the third array like this. Okay, slightly complicated internal representation when you talk about memory, but when you are implementing it, this complicated internal memory memory allocation method will not hamper your program. Okay. So let's quickly create a three-dimensional array in the program. So int 3D, so basically you will have 3 4 by 5 matrices. Okay, let's continue. Now for I equal to 0, okay, I have declared I, j, k, 3 variables. Then I write, so I will comment this. Okay, so then I'll write for I equal to 0, I less than 3, I am talking about the first parameter here, I plus plus, fine. I plus plus, then I write for j equal to 0, j less than 4, second parameter here, j plus plus, and then I write for k equal to 0, k less than 5, k plus plus, okay, and inside this I will write 3D of I j k equal to, let's say, I into j into k. Okay, and now this is how I have created an array, and I will simply now print that array. So I will copy the same code. I am printing the array now. Again, I don't want to declare ijk, so I will just say for I equal to 0, I less than 3, I plus plus, j equal to 0. Okay, I will just write here system dot out dot println. Okay, I'll just say print, not println, and I'll specify 3D of I j k plus, I'll specify horizontal tab. Okay, so this is the inner for loop, and just outside that inner for loop I will specify, so this is the outer for loop, this bracket is for outer for loop, and outermost for loop, say this bracket. Okay, and just before going to the outermost for loop, I'll just say system dot out dot println, so that it prints a new line. Okay, let's check what output we get. Okay, there is another system dot out dot println that is required. Okay, for the outer for loop, this is okay. Here also I require another system dot out dot println. I will check whether it comes. Yes. So see, a three-dimensional array basically is having three matrices. Just see, first matrix here is 4 by 5 matrix, right? Then you have second 4 by 5 matrix, and then you have third 4 by 5 matrix. Okay. So whenever you talk about 3 dimension, the first dimension here, it always corresponds to the index of the first matrix, then index of the second matrix, then the index of the third matrix. Whereas the second and third parameter specifies in each of these 3 matrices what are the rows, what are the columns. So this is basically what is 3D matrix means in Java. Okay. So usually you will not be performing operations on 3-dimensional matrix at this point, but somewhere later we can try using 3-dimensional matrix. But internal structure of 3-dimensional matrix, always remember it is like this. So you will have 2D arrays, array of arrays. Okay, 3-dimension only means how many times you have those 2D arrays. So when I say 3, it means 3 times. So the first index position of this 3D reference will be pointing to array of or array reference of this first matrix. Second address will be pointing to array of array representation of the second matrix, and third will be pointing to array of array representation of the third matrix. So this is how you will have three matrices, and so something like pointer to a pointer, something like that, right? So although the internal memory representation of this three-dimensional array it looks complicated, but it is not. So if you see, what it has printed is, first it has printed the first matrix, then it has printed the second matrix, and then it has printed the third matrix, if you can see the output. Okay, so that is it for arrays. Okay, one last thing that I want to tell you, while declaring arrays, there are two ways of declaring the arrays, right? So two ways of declaring arrays. Okay. Now suppose I want to declare an array, let's say A is the name of the array. I can do it like this: int A equal to new int of 3 elements. Okay. Now another way of writing the same thing is what, this square bracket, its position can be changed. Okay. So the second way of writing this is what? You can write it like this: int, then you can write bracket first, and then the name of the array equal to new int 3. So in Java, the reference name and the square brackets, their positions can be interchanged without actual change of the meaning. So both ways you can write this. Okay, that's why many a times when I write public static void main, okay, you must have seen public static void main, you have a string array, no? In some books you must have seen brackets written first and then arcs, and in some books, especially when I write, I also write it like this. I write string, then I write the array name arcs, and then I write the brackets. So both these approaches are correct. Okay, there are two ways of writing or declaring arrays. Okay, and Java goes one step ahead, and if you want to create 3 arrays reference variables, you can create it like this. Suppose you want to create 3 reference variables, each representing an array. You can write like this in one line. You can say int, then bracket, then you can say num1, num2, and num3. This actually means what, It means you are creating num1 as one array, you are creating num2 as the second array, and you are creating num3 as the third array. So instead of writing these 3 lines, you can write everything in one line. So this is a way of how you can create 3 array reference variables. So these are basically called as array reference variables. So you can create all the array reference variables in one line by writing it like this. Okay. So this is all that I wanted to speak about arrays.